Hello, everybody. My name is Derek Malinzak. I am a faculty member at Rutgers University, Department of Psychiatric Rehabilitation and Counseling Professions. I have a short talk I'm going to share with you today. Let's just get this going. Okay, so the title of my dissertation is up there on the screen. The experience of successful reentry to post-secondary education for college students who stopped out due to the effects of mental health conditions. And my study was a qualitative inquiry. So yeah, I am very interested in reentry to college, specifically for college students who started and then had to take a leave due to their mental health condition. You're going to find links to everything I'm going to talk about today in the notes in the section below. I'm actually not going to focus so much on my dissertation, but rather tell you a couple of stories that relate to how we can apply what I learned. And we're going to do it in a TED-like talk style. So here we go. For some context, I will give you a quick overview of what I did. I interviewed students in recovery who started college, struggled due to a mental health condition, and then stopped out, which basically means dropping out with the intention of returning to school soon. I asked them about their reentry experience, what it was like to go back to school after stopping out, and there was a twist though. The sample that I drew from were alumni from a specialized college reentry program called College Reentry, and I'm going to talk about that program today, otherwise known as CRE. CRE is based in New York City and founded in 2014 by none other than Fountain House, who is the first clubhouse of its kind in New York City and serves as a bastion for psychiatric rehabilitation values and principles. Students come to CRE after stopping out of college and spend an entire semester prepping for reentry to college in a multitude of ways, depending on their individualized needs, of course. Coaches help students create a plan for reentry. So sometimes students decide to go from full-time to part-time. Other times students decide they would like to change schools or majors or living situations. So there's definitely a lot of planning involved. But making sure that they're prepared to excel in college is key too. So that's why students there take a mock college course where they have to complete homework assignments and submit practice assignments. Along the way, they learn study skills, note taking, and participate in cognitive remediation, drill and practice training, as well as a variety of wellness activities, such as yoga and cooking classes. The cohorts for this reentry program are small, 6 to 10 students per semester, but the costs are not. $7,500 for this 14-week program, not including the expenses associated with living and/or commuting to Midtown New York City during the week. I feel I should add, they do scholarship a fair amount of students as well. Talking to these alumni from the CRE program, I was impressed, but also a little dumbfounded. First, again, the cost makes it wholly unfeasible for a majority of would-be students who simply can't absorb that kind of expense, let alone relocate to New York City for a semester. Second, I thought a lot about Karen Unger's conceptualization of supported education, and her three basic models of support. Let's go over them real quick. There's the one supported ed model that is used here in New Jersey, the mobile support model, which is where programs are run by community nonprofits and serve a number of schools based on the catchment area. There's also the on-site support model, which would be kind of schools setting up their own supported ed and working with the student at the college campus. And lastly, there's the third self-contained classroom model, sort of like the forgotten model here. This model isn't used so much in secondary and primary schooling anymore. But when I was younger, I remember this model in effect. When I was in elementary school, they still had special education classes where it was small groups of students with disabilities that were provided extra supports, but they were all together segregated in their own small little classroom. And we don't really do this anymore, right? Research has shown that mainstreaming or integrating children with special needs into regular classrooms produces better outcomes. Anyway, back to CRE. It was right around this time last year I was planning to visit Fountain House and give a presentation about my dissertation findings when a very curious thing happened. I learned from the director that the final CRE class ever would be taking place that summer 2023. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Here's how they describe their thinking. This is from their blog. Fountain House will create a new young adult program designed to reach more young people and offer a broader scope of services. This new program will include education support in addition to programming around employment, advocacy, and peer mentorship. So I must admit, I was definitely a little dismayed by hearing this news, but as I reconcile what CRE was, this like very exclusive program, high costs to entry, with what Fountain House stands for, inclusivity, accessibility, providing services for as many people as they can. Maybe it's not so hard to see, after all, why they decided to pivot. So where does this leave us with specialized college reentry programming? There's still one program very much like CRE operating a self-contained classroom, the NATEO program, under one of my mentors, Dr. Sally Rogers at Boston University. There's a couple of wilderness programs, and of course we have supported ed programs in some regions of the country. But specialized services for this population outside of those really just don't exist. Trust me, I've looked. The rest of this talk is going to focus on my vision for college reentry programming of the future, based on what I learned in my dissertation research. I'm also going to tie in the 6 themes that I found as a result of my qualitative thematic analysis. And in doing so, I hope to crowdsource some suggestions on how this vision can be improved at the end. So please leave a comment if you're so inclined, or reach out with an email. My email address is going to be towards the end here. First off, the model. While I can't deny that the success of programs like CRE and NATEO have experienced, in its current form, I don't believe the self-contained classroom is flexible enough to serve today's college student. Remember those 3 supported ed models that we looked at before? What if we considered, instead of the self-contained classroom or the mobile support model, what if we looked at that 3rd model, the on-site support model? In our case, my case, a large school like Rutgers would run their own reentry programming for students who've stopped out and wish to return to Rutgers. Why would Rutgers entertain this idea? Well, there's a few reasons, actually. This is a slide from the Chronicle talking about a few of them. Research, I haven't looked into this very deeply, but it seems from the cursory search that I've done, pretty much accepted that the cost of retaining students is much less versus recruiting new students to college. I saw one stat that showed research showing recruiting a single student is 4 to 5 times more costly than retaining them. So it doesn't really seem debatable that Rutgers can save a ton of money, or any school that adopts a program like this, by retaining stopped-out students and offering them a welcoming environment to return to versus trying to recruit new students to replace them. Okay, so back to the model. The reentry program for this vision is on-site, but it's really not. There's not going to be a reentry building to go to. The meetings for this type of programming will be virtual, but the programming is going to take place within the Rutgers community, the very environment that they're planning to reenter to. The benefits of learning that happen online, this virtual model, which was a theme that I found in my analysis, are probably pretty straightforward. So we eliminate travel, improve accessibility. It's more cost effective than running a program, with a standing building. But most importantly, the students that I talk to talk about learning online affording them many protective factors for their psychiatric condition, such as being able to take breaks more often, access content even when they may not feel like they're at their best. They could do it from their home as opposed to having to commit to going somewhere. For all this to work, though, something really important needs to happen. You see, I was sure this idea of schools running their own reentry programming had already been thought of. So I asked Sally Rogers, my mentor, why don't schools, like especially large ones, create their own reentry programs? Um, she gave me a very simple reason for this. Students who are stopped out aren't registered or enrolled in the school, so they can't access Rutgers programs, buildings, services, etc. Um, there's good news, though. This is starting to change. Last year, in response to lawsuits brought against Yale, they amended their student leave policy. So check this out. Amongst other things, students are going to be allowed to be on campus when they're taking a leave of absence for mental health reasons. This is really big news. And if it can happen at Yale, legal precedent would suggest that it could probably happen here or anywhere. So an on-site support model built within the Rutgers community with full access to all Rutgers facilities. Next, how do we teach students strategies for how to succeed in college instead of creating a mock course? Because I don't really want to do that. I thought about having students audit courses, but then I learned that students have to pay for the course in order to audit them. Okay, so that's out. But this is Rutgers, right? They have everything. So I went and looked, and lo and behold, we have the Rutgers Learning Center, which provide presentations for students on everything, and I mean everything, related to student success. This slide is a list of some of those types of programs, but there were many more. What if we could partner with this organization and they could provide presentations for students on everything related to reentry and academic success. They could brush up on their study skills. Perhaps they have practice materials that would help simulate a college workload so that they can learn some of those academic skills. Instead of teaching it ourselves, we could farm it out to experts who are already set up to do this optimally. Next, what does reentry support look like in this new model? So ideally, supporters would be peers and engage with students in a coaching relationship. That said, they'll also need to be skilled case managers as well, linking students to the various programs and services on campus. Support services tend to be provided in one of two ways. So usually it's either one-on-one or small groups. Neither of these really seem to work best for college students, though, in my opinion. So I'd like to try a system where each reentry student is paired with a coach, but also another student. We'll employ triads, a coach meeting with two students at the same time, versus one, which supported education counselors usually do. Two, the student gets to meet and become friendly with at least one other student. It's about building natural supports, which was another theme that I found in my analysis. One of the big things I learned was that in order to feel connected to the campus, students need to feel comfortable. Disconnection, non-engagement are primary drivers of stopout. So simply put, they can't feel isolated. So to do this, leveraging natural supports is going to be key. The need for a structured schedule is the third, but actually stood out as the strongest theme that I found. To help instill structure, there's going to be daily check-in meetings that are timed to coincide with when a student should be up during the semester. These meetings are going to help establish healthy habits and daily routines that should decrease, the meeting should decrease over time as these habits and routines take hold. Similarly, if a pairing between those two students is successful, if they're really vibing, the coach can start to slowly remove themselves, and the two students can then serve as primary accountability partners for one another as they tie into the existing resources on campus. And at the same time, maybe they make a friend and feel a little more connected to the school in the process. What about physical wellness? Let's explore the Rutgers Recreation Department. So they're the experts in this kind of stuff, right? Now I know there's certain barriers with certain Rutgers students in schools not being able to access recreation facilities in other schools, and I'm being told that that is hopefully being worked out. Um, but I mean, look at all these programs. But then there's other things too. I mean, what if you need help with career decisions and counseling? We have the Rutgers Career Exploration and Success Department. What about counseling support? We have Rutgers CAPS, which provides on-campus support, counseling services. But we also have UWIL, which is a relatively new resource for college students offering teletherapy. Research shows, from what I learned in my dissertation, was that the number one place that college students seek mental health services is where? On their college campus. So let's get them connected to whom they're going to be seeing when they re-enter. We'll also have formal relationships with Office of Disability Services to help people get accommodations, and University Behavioral Health Care, UBHC, for crisis support if that is needed as well. There's a service called Togetherall that facilitates peer support amongst college students, and they have a specific program for Rutgers. When it comes down to it, we need to help students grow emotionally during the stop out so that they're better able to handle the rigors of a demanding college semester upon their return. These services would employ a rapid response process for fixing things that aren't working. So increasing support if needed, changing student pairs, changing the coach, having the coach serve as the primary accountability partner, on-call support if help is needed after hours to connect people to needed services. At the same time, though, there's not going to be any pressure to use Rutgers programs if the person wants to or already has supports in the community, such as an outside therapist. Some students express a need for independence during this time, which was the fifth theme of my dissertation. The cost to the student would be free, or at the most, it would be the student fee associated with being enrolled and having access to all these facilities and programs. The only real cost to the university would be the coaches themselves. These programs are already set up and funded, like the recreation department and CAPS. Successful alumni of the program could also do a coaching training and become peer coaches themselves. Lastly, I have a set of specific but simple interventions that I'm calling my Lindy strategies in honor of Nassim Taleb. The Lindy principle is that the longer something has been around, the more likely it is to stick around. So religion, for example, is a very Lindy idea. There are very basic things that all humans need since the beginning of time that young people in particular, I've observed, seem to lack. They're easy to neglect at this age, I guess. Everyone focuses on two of them: good diet, enough exercise, right? These are definitely important, don't get me wrong. But I think we should also focus on sunlight, quality sleep, and establishing a healthy circadian rhythm. So this is from the Sleep Foundation. I want to give them credit for this excellent slide. And you see things like exercise are in here, but spending time outside, touching grass, right? These are definitely things that college students in particular, seem to lack, maybe due to their, abnormal sleep schedules, staying up late, getting up late. Definitely seems to have adverse effects, mental health. So one final story to illustrate this. So the ADHD epidemic that we're seeing in young people has actually crept its way into my own life. Last summer, my 11-year-old son told me he thought he had ADHD, which was the sixth and final theme I found. I was skeptical when he told me, but took him to a doctor, and sure enough, he was right. We didn't treat it with medication, though. We had him take a screen fast. So Touching grass, right? No video games, no iPad, no computers, um, other than for school, of course. And after about 4 weeks, the majority of his ADHD symptoms seemed to dissipate, and he was sleeping so much better as well. Um, Young people need less blue light, so the light found in LED lights, fluorescent lighting, computer and phone screens in their lives. They need less of that, especially at night, and more red light from the sun, especially in the morning. They can also practice harm reduction strategies related to this. So, getting blue light blocking glasses, for example. So, there you have it. A vision for helping stopped out students re-enter after experiencing mental health difficulties and having to stop out. It's all about understanding the nature of what successful engagement in college looks like, and then working backwards by tying in the existing resources, services, programs, facilities, and community that we have built within the Rutgers system here. There's definitely veritable roadblocks to this vision, but I've tried to outline possible solutions. Um, so, what do you think? What do I have right? What am I missing? I'd love your questions, comments, suggestions. If you're interested in setting up a program like this at your school, definitely please reach out to me. My email is listed there. So, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Thanks.